Welcome back. You're listening to the Mariam Mukunda Show on Salam Media, and we are also live on Facebook. If you have any comments, questions, queries, or suggestions, you can send them to us on WhatsApp. The number is 0617660355. Alternatively, you can leave your comments in the comment section below. So joining me on the line right now is Faaizah Laher, who is a dietitian. I'm going to be talking about food addiction. And now you're probably wondering, what is food addiction? Can a person become addicted to food? Yes, it is possible. Assalamu alaikum, Faaizah. Thank you for joining me.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you so much for having me again on your show.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you for being part of the show. So, what is a food addiction?
Okay, so a food addiction is basically people or a disorder similar to a addiction to any other substance, where a person does not get any satiety or they don't get any feeling of fullness after eating food.
What are the signs of a food addiction? Are there anything in particular to look out for?
So food addiction is a little bit controversial because there is not a lot of scientific research around it, okay? But one typical sign would be eating certain foods excessively and craving them very, very often.
So would that not be instead an addition to that particular food, as in addition to food in general?
Okay, so food addiction can be it can be certain foods, or it can be a particular food. It can be foods that are high in carbohydrates, fat, or salt and sugar, and qualifies food addiction as a substance use disorder. Okay, researchers have again not identified specific substances that trigger addiction, like nicotine in cigarettes or any potentially addictive food. So what they have identified is certain foods light up or trigger certain centers in the brain that make us feel good. And in turn, because it makes us feel good, we want to eat these foods over and over because of the good feeling we get from eating certain types of foods.
So what causes food addiction?
So we don't know what the causes are at the moment, but it could be eating these foods so often, and especially under certain psychological circumstances. So say, for example, if a person feels very sad or stressed, anxious, and they tend to reach for certain foods, and it becomes a learned behavior over a certain period of time. And as they feel again anxious or irritable or depressed, they reach for these foods over and over again. And as they reach for the food and consume them, they excite certain centers in the brain, help them to feel good, and then it relieves that feeling of anxiety or depression or sadness for that little period of time until they feel the same way again. So it is almost, in a way, treating your feelings with food.
So can it be, or can trauma trigger these feelings of wanting to eat and eat and eat all the time? Because I know I've watched a show where people are morbidly obese and they continue eating, and many of them have mentioned how a past trauma happened which triggered them to eat until their current weight.
So it could be a variety of circumstances could cause a person to reach for certain foods very often. Okay, it also comes from when a person is growing up and in childhood, when a child gets hurt or when they feel unhappy or let down by certain circumstances, and parents would offer certain types of foods to cheer them up. So, oh, let me take you out for ice cream, you'll feel better, or you didn't do well in school, but it's okay, we'll have like we'll go out to McDonald's or something. So treating
Mhm.
those certain feelings with food also becomes a learned behavior over a certain period of time. So one way in which to help certain individuals who feel they have a food addiction is behavioral therapy. Is one
Mhm.
way in which they can treat food addiction, and in the long run try and get rid of or try to get out of it.
Mhm. Wow. Now, how common is a food addiction?
So we don't know at present how common it is. A lot of people do say, "Oh, I'm so addicted to certain types of things." Research is still
Mhm.
getting there. We don't know yet. Again, because they don't know which types of foods trigger those feel-good hormones, or which chemicals is it in foods that trigger those centers in the brain to produce, a food addiction. But typically, what it is, it's foods that are very refined, high in sugar,
Hmm.
salt, fat, that that also trigger those hormones or the release of certain enzymes in the mouth, and it's trigger those certain centers in the brain, and then it gives you that initial boost of feeling good, or oh, this feels so great, and then over a period of time it does become a bit of an addiction or a habit.
Mm-hmm. Now, I know many of us often say, like, oh, I love chocolates and I can't live without chocolate, or I love my pasta and I need to have pasta at least once a week. Does that make us addicted to food?
So you have to think: is this an addiction, or is it just a habit? Is
Mm.
it just something that features on my plate, on my menu every week? And what can I do to manage that habit? So for example, if you really love to have pasta on your week, it's not no problem with that. But what you can do is you can say, okay, let me swap the pasta for a whole wheat or a durum wheat pasta, which is higher in fiber and higher in protein as well. And then let me add a side of salad or vegetables, so that I'm not overdoing it on the pasta. So that would making sure that be aware of your feelings while you're eating, or be aware of the circumstances around eating the certain trigger food, if that's what you feel is your trigger food, and being aware of it, which is the first step. And then you can notice what can you do to change it, or to manage that certain that food or the food group that gives you that feeling of feeling really great, and letting go of certain feelings that you feeling at the moment.
Hmm. All right. So now we have this problem of food addiction. So what do we do about it, and how do we overcome it? Or is there medication to take?
So one way in which there are a few methods. First of all, the person or a individual needs to think about and realize how bad is the addiction. If it's just a cube of chocolate after supper, or if it's just a packet of chips, once a week or every now and then, it's not too bad. If they're able to manage it, then they can just say, okay, let me swap the chips for apple, or let me swap the chocolate for dark chocolate, also helps. If it's really bad, and if a person is really becoming obese or putting on a lot of weight, then something they can look at is contacting a psychologist for cognitive behavioral therapy, where they help you to identify certain thoughts and thought patterns, and then they help you with coping mechanisms for those food triggers. And this can be done individually or in a group session. It really makes a big difference. So that's for people who are really sort of, really struggling. Medication can be given if a person goes to a psychiatrist and it's really, something they cannot control. Or they can use solution-focused therapy, where therapists can help the individual find solutions for specific issues and stresses in their life. So if a person has a very stressful job, and they do tend to overeat in the evening, then even a dietitian can help a person with that. We look at what sort of foods they eat during the day. Do they miss a lot of meals? what sort of foods are they buying foods? Do they have a balanced diet? And then we help them, going forward from that. Trauma therapy, as you mentioned already, people who have had trauma. So if you treat the trauma and treat the feelings around the trauma, you're able to also treat those feelings of hunger and feeding around that. And then nutritional counseling and diet planning is also very important. So a dietitian would look at your full history, foods you eat often, weekends, during the week, after hours, your lunchbox, your shopping list, help you go forward. So there's really no guilt or feelings of what would I say? Feelings of being, horrible attached to that. We just help you moving forward. There's a lot of people who need help, and we help a lot of individuals on a daily basis getting back to that healthy eating journey that they need to be on, and help them with those food addictions or those food, those triggers that they experience on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm. So would it be advised to reward yourself after perhaps maybe not taking that food for a while in your recovery process?
So a therapist also help with that. Rewarding with food is not the way to go ahead with it. Perhaps if you want to reward maybe a new item that you've been wanting for a while, or once you've reached a certain weight loss, or depending on what the person's journey was. But rewarding with food would not be the right way, because you're trying to get away from that. So again, replacing foods with other foods, looking at how much caffeine a person drinks, do they drink enough water, is their diet balanced, all helps with a person who believes they have a food addiction, and helping them realistically to achieve the goals that they want to achieve.
Mm-hmm. I know many of us have been trying out a lot of recipes during the lockdown, but I don't know if I could consider that being addicted to food, or we were just being too excited.
Yes, so a lot of people have been home, and a lot of people are still home. And that food journey has been interesting because they've been making a lot of food at home. They've been baking at home. A lot of people have been baking bread at home. And this is really great, because for a lot of people, it makes them realize that I can actually, make a lot of food that I never used to do before. I could make a decent burger patty. I can, make a decent pasta. So I don't actually need to be buying a lot of food. And the one important factor in healthy eating is able to plan and cook the food from home. So you are more in control of all the substances and additions that you are adding to certain meals. So you're not adding like salty sauces and additives to your food. It's really, you're using a lot of fresh herbs, spices, masala or vinegar, lemon juice, lots of different things to flavor food. And once you sit down at the table and you realize it's really delicious, I can actually cook from home. You're relying on takeout foods is not as great.
And also, it's not processed. You make it yourself. You have very few ingredients. You know exactly what is going in there because you're putting it in there, and you're making yourself and your family even healthier. So, I guess the lockdown did do us good in that department. But
That
thank you
is
so
very,
much.
very true. And also in Islam, we think of eating to live, not living to eat. And if you just live by that, you'll notice that a lot of the things that you used to think before, oh, I need to go out this weekend, I need to eat at this restaurant, I need to go here. You're able to manage that as well. And also, there's another saying that goes, you can eat anything you want as long as you cook it from home.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want a biscuit, if you want a cake, if you make it at home and eat it. And you'll notice that a lot of the time you actually, the feeling to cook it and bake it yourself is not as great as if you had really, really want it. So yes, but cooking from home is really great. I really want the listeners to go on with that and, be creative and go out there and just go wild with cooking at home. It's never, never, ever a bad thing.
No, definitely not. In fact, it's an excellent thing because you know what is going in there, and you know that no matter how long it took you in the kitchen, you will still be satisfied with the results, and the results will be a healthy heart and a healthy lifestyle.
That's very, very true. I know a lot of people have put their children to good use and got them busy in the kitchen as well. And that's also really great, getting them involved, getting them chopping. I have a friend who has taught her daughter to make she's only in grade 3, but she
Mhm.
can make now a full meal from scratch, and she's,
Wow, mashallah.
properly, able to do everything, and she loves it. And she loves it. She'll
Mm,
phone her granny and ask her for recipes that she really loves cooking. So it's really good, and children have learned a lot from this. And parents have learned that my children are so much more capable than what I think they are.
mm. Well, unfortunately, I still have a long way to go before I can put my 2-year-old to good use in the kitchen. But anyways, I'm gonna leave it at that. Shukran so much for your time once again.
Thank you so much, Miriam. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. That was Dietitian Faiza Leher giving us some tips on how to avoid being addicted to food. And if you do have a food addiction, what you can do. Yeah, chat to a dietitian. The dietitian will help you out and give you some ways on how to combat your food addiction. Cook your food at home. I know restaurants are opened, but to think about this, having to sit down at the restaurant with your mask on, how are you going to manage to eat comfortably with that? I mean, there you are busy with your device or busy chatting to your friend that you went with, and then the next thing you put the food over your mask, and it's like, oh, okay, that was a boomish. But anyways, cook your food from home and enjoy cooking at home. It's not something that is bad for you. It's great. It's gonna do wonders for you mentally, for your body, for your overall well-being, and you will love it. You will love showing people on the gram, flexing. We like to flex on the gram. You're gonna love flexing your newfound cooking skills, and I know people have been doing it already. And the hashtag Corona lockdown menus. Quarantine's got talent. Everybody's been doing those, so you can follow those trends as well. And yeah, so if you have any comments, questions, queries, or suggestions, leave them in the comment section below or send them to our WhatsApp line on 0617660355. Just stay with us. We will be right back.